Hello everyone, this is C7, the HOA Homesteader, and I'm coming to you today with a little garden update. It seems as though that I've been so busy with the bees over the last, let's say 2 months, that the only videos I really put out, have been concerning the bees. So I'm going to do just a little garden update. I don't have a large garden, but I'm going to show you some guys what I still have going on and some things that maybe you can even help me with. And with that said, let's get started. I'm gonna start right here on the patio. I got some stuff here on the patio. The first container here, that's my mango that I grew from seed last year. It continues to grow, but however, I cannot get it to stop doing this here to the leaves. They just turn brown and die off, turn brown and die off. But the tree itself is continuing to grow. I've tried citrus fertilizer. I've tried 511. I've tried nitrogen. And I tried banana water, and it still seems to do the same thing. It'll grow, but the leaves turn brown. As long as it's growing and getting thicker, I'm happy with that, but I do want to produce some healthy leaves. Next to it is the my avocado that I grew from seed also, and only just a little bit grown. It's pretty healthy. It's doing pretty good. Like saying I just add banana water and that 511, that Alaska 511, what we call Lady Linda 511. And it's doing okay. And this poor little blackberry, it seems like every time I leave out of town or it gets uncared for 2 or 3 days, it seems like those are the hottest days around and the leaves die off. But this is the second time that the leaves will die. So it's pretty resilient. I think it's about time I need to put it in the ground. That's all I got going on the patio. Let's take this thing outside. Alright. Going in what I got in the ground. Peppers, and the last couple months they produced pretty good for me. I got a lot of jalapenos off. Now it seems like they're dying out, and the jalapenos don't look as healthy as the ones that I harvest earlier. The habaneros, they took the longest to grow, but once they start growing, then I grew the most out of those. And some of you guys have been following me around. I grew watermelons in early spring, and before they could get done, several of them had got water damage and I had to throw them out. So I just threw them over here and smashed them all up back into the soil. Needless to say, they grew more water vines. So I'm just trying to see what's going to come out of this. They're not the healthiest looking, but they still grow. And then over here, red mustard green just sprouted up on its own, and I didn't even plant any on this side of this garden bed last year. They were all over there, over in the raised bed. Funny thing about this raised bed is it's just full of tomato plants, and actually I grew tomato plants in pots and stuff, and then when it came time to separate them, I had more than I could contain in the containers or in the pots. So I brought some over here, but they were clumped together. And I was like, I don't really think they're supposed to be like that. So one day I just took them and I separated. I made about 8 of them, and they were so leggy. And I didn't think they would ever grow because I had already started getting tomatoes off the other one. And they was leggy and they just grew up. And I was like, well, as long as they're growing, I'm not going to touch them. Then eventually, these things just started producing tomatoes like crazy. I couldn't keep up with trellising them properly, so they hanging all down to the ground and everything. But every day I got me some cherry tomatoes to harvest. So I know it's looking kind of raggedy, but it's edible food. And since the tomatoes look like they've done well in this raised bed, till I can figure something else out, that's what I'm continuing to grow here. And all this other new growth is just from, I guess, tomatoes falling to the ground and seeds starting, or it's up underneath the soil or something, but I didn't even plant none of these, so they just started sprouting up. Amazing when you do a little short video at a time, goes so fast. Now these are my passion fruits. I'm trying to get them to catch on and grow up onto this thing. They were up there, but the storm kind of blew them off. They were tangled up there pretty good, but the storm was stronger than the vines and set them off. I really think it's time for me to cut the bottoms out of these containers, clear the soil around it, put some nutrients, soil, fertilizer down, just let them go into the ground. I don't want to bury them because this part of my lawn floods. I can see right there, I got standing water right there. I know citrus don't really like to be soaked in water, but this, I didn't think about that when I originally planted it. This is a grapefruit, this is water, but believe it or not, it's got the thickest base. It seems to do well. And if that water gets to it, I hit it with that 511, it comes back around. Here's a little orange tree I planted a couple months ago. Nice and green and healthy. And this is my lemon tree. It didn't have lemons, they fell off. It was born, they fell off. And now, one day I hit it with like about 2 gallons of that 511. And it seemed like after that point, it really started growing again. Put out some nice buds. Turned most of the yellow leaves back green. Now I got lemons growing again, which would be perfect for the normal part. Oh, there they go right there. No, look at way down. So they'll probably be ready like they're supposed to be late winter. It's about 5. There's another one. Hopefully they don't get sunburnt or none of that stuff. I'll be able to harvest them. I never planted that tomato plant in here. What I planted was a pepper plant. Where the tomato plant came from, I don't know, but we'll let it do its thing. The pepper plants over here did okay, but they really didn't produce that much. And then aphids had got to them. See all that? Slowed them down, and then they started growing again, so I was able to harvest a couple of peppers off of those. And these 2 pomegranates, probably wonderful. Bought them from the pomegranates from the grocery store, saved the seeds, and wanted to see if I could turn it into a plant. They did. But they've been this size for a while, so I think it's time for them to come out those containers. And to my understanding, we're going to have to get another breed of pomegranate so they can help pollinate one another. I think it's called White Russian. Cucumbers. I tried desperately to grow 3 or 4 different times between last year and this year. This is the last attempt. They're growing, but all of these little holes started to seem like whatever was eating them up over in the raised bed started over there first, and now it's trying to work its way over here. I don't know what's happening. I got plenty of flowers blooming on this one. I just wanted this one. So, and my chili pepper plant is doing great. Harvested a bunch of them green because it was just full of them, but they wasn't turning red, so I just went ahead and harvested them. Well, that was a tour of the garden. I wanted it to be a little quicker than that. Maybe I can edit it down some. You guys won't have to sit through a long dragged out video on our garden. It's so small. But since I hadn't done a garden update in a while, I tried to be a little thorough. But thank you for visiting my channel. You guys have been with C7, the HOA Homesteader. And remember, folks, just because you may live in a HOA doesn't mean that you cannot grow food.